Hi, I'm Jeff Moran. I want to welcome you to True Texas History. Today we're going to be talking about Commodore Edwin Moore and his court martial. This is one of the more colorful stories in Texas history, and if you haven't heard it, this is one you definitely want to hear. Okay, today is July the 14th. Now, on this day, back in 1844, Commodore Moore returned to Galveston. Now, the city lookouts had been watching for his ship to show up, and when his ship showed up a little bit after midnight, the city rejoiced. I mean, it was a time of national celebration. They were firing the cannons. They were welcoming the Commodore and his sailors. People were proud of their nation. They were proud of Texas because Texas had recently fought in some of the Yucatan Wars and had distinguished itself very well under the leadership of Commodore Moore. There was even a small vessel that went out to greet the Commodore and asked that he come ashore about 4 o'clock so that they could have celebrations. I mean, the whole city of Galveston was thrilled with him showing up. Now, of course, it's interesting that when he did go ahead and show up, that, shall we say, where was it? Well, before he showed up, there was an exchange of letters. And in that exchange of letters, let me go ahead and get them exactly, because that's going to tell the story more than anything else would. The Commodore Moore went ahead and sent a letter to the sheriff. And let's see, where's that letter say? Okay. Having been proclaimed by the President of Texas an outlaw and a pirate in all the nations of Christendom, in amity with Texas, having been called upon to seize me and bring me to this port for trial, I herewith inform you that I have voluntarily returned here and surrender myself to you for the purpose of meeting the penalties of the law. Now, he sent the letter, and Sheriff Smith knew what was going on, and he sent his reply. Much as I admire a disposition of submission to the legal tribunals of your country, so manifest that I am not a warrior, nor do I conceive that it is incumbent on me in my official capacity to take cognizance of this matter. In other words, it's none of my business. It's outside of my authority. Come on shore. So he came on shore. There were parties. There were dinners. A lot of celebration. Of course, Commodore Moore was making reference to the president and the allegations against him, because he had been accused of things like piracy, treason, murder. Those were pretty serious charges. And the president, Sam Houston, had called upon other nations to drag him in under the claims that he was a pirate. So a trial got underway. Now, the trial, if you get into the Republic of Texas politics, it makes the folks in Washington look like a piker. They look like amateurs next to the Republic of Texas politicians. The court-martial trial had been ordered by Congress rather than going through the judicial branches. Now, since it was ordered by Congress, that means whatever findings they had to be reported to the president before they were made public to the people. So things were done in a weird way. Now, the trial, it was quite interesting because when Commodore Moore showed up, he handed his sword to the court officials, which is, when you're in trial for court-martial, that's what you did. Said, I place in your keeping, Mr. President and gentlemen of the court, my sword, which I have worn in this, in my native country, upwards of 19 years, and in this country of my adoption for nearly 5 years, which I can safely say I've always used to the utmost of my ability with prudence, firmness, discretion, and humanity. From the intelligence of this court, I confidently believe that after full investigation of the charges and specifications, I will receive at your hands an impartial verdict, which is all I ask. Okay, now as the trial got underway, and I'm not going to bore you with all the details, literally the charges of treason and murder were thrown out. They said that they couldn't find any evidence of piracy because what President Houston was claiming was piracy was not listed in any document of any legal document that identified that. When all the charges were examined, the court did find Moore guilty of 4 charges. Disobedience to orders, but they added some caveats. They said that they found the orders were implied, implicated, and they were either conditional and thus impossible to obey. So they said, okay, he disobeyed orders, but the orders were so confusing, we don't hold it against him. And so no punishment was recommended. Now, the court went ahead and sealed its proceedings and sent them to Houston. Houston blew a gasket. He couldn't stand it. In fact, he wrote out, the president disapproves of the proceedings of the court in toto, and he is assured by undoubted evidence of the guilt of the accused. This is almost, like some of the kangaroo courts in Washington. I was assured that he was guilty. We had the evidence. The court didn't find it that way. Now, Houston and Moore had been at each other's throat for a long time. Yes, Moore went ahead and did some things without Houston's approval, but President Houston was doing things like cutting off all funding to the Navy when he didn't have the authority to do so. He was not going through Congress. He was acting independently. That created problems. Now, all these things became public when the new Congress came in 1845. Now, the new Congress went ahead and brought these things out publicly, and they went ahead and passed a couple of resolutions, one reinstating Moore as the Commodore of the Texas Navy, and another one commending him for his service to the Republic. The problem is, although Congress passed it, the president never signed it. Houston was not about to sign anything like that. So he was never formally reinstated. And but that whole episode did start a series of events that led to the ships being sold. Another thing that happened with that is that all the firearms, the Navy Colts, were taken over by the state and given to the Texas Rangers. So if you wonder, how did the Texas Rangers ever get those Navy Colts? And why are they called Navy Colts? That's because they were in the Texas Navy. That's where they came from. And that started a whole another series that I may need to talk about, how the revolver changed the West. But it all goes back to the Texas Navy and the foresight of people like Commodore Moore and those people that bought supplies for the Navy and equipped it to do its job. I thought you would enjoy that. That's what happened this day, July 14th, 1844. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to leave them below. I'll be glad to get to them. If you want to send me something in private, jeff@nonebuttexians.com is the way to go ahead and get my attention there. And the other thing you can do, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends. And until next time, this is Jeff Morrow wishing you vaya con Dios, my friends. Goodbye.